All right, perfect. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for that. All right, Brooke, Owen, welcome. Owen, welcome back. Good to see you. I missed you. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Aaron. How are you?
Doing great. It's a wonderful Wednesday morning. All right, so referendum party chair candidates, thank you for joining us today at today's open forum. We're going to start with opening statements from each of you, 1 minute. Then we are going to be going into the outline of referendum minutes. I'm sure you both know and have prepared for that section. Then we're going to be doing a little bit of Q&A, and then we're going to have some time for closing statements as well. So either of you can begin if you would prefer. Owen, you can go first. You have a minute whenever you would like to start. And our time with this section is a little bit more flexible. So
Awesome, sweet. Thank you, Aaron. So for our opening statement, the Students' Union Undergraduate Health Plan affords many students accessible or access to valuable health and drug benefits. This includes mental health supports, vision coverage, physical therapy, travel insurance, and then accident expenses. However, the SU Health Plan fails to support students in two particular ways. So first, the current health plan does not cover oral contraceptives, or OCs as we refer to them as, pills which are important prescriptions for many people who menstruate. And then second, the current plan is financially unstable, which has resulted in significant cuts to existing coverage. So for those two key reasons, we're campaigning to raise the undergraduate health plan fee by approximately $75. The actual fee will increase by $75.41, which will be adjusted annually by the cost of inflation, which is normally about 2%, just to ensure that students can continue to access comprehensive health and drug benefits.
perfect. Thank you very much, Owen. Owen is running for the health and dental portion of the referenda party chair. Now, Brooke, you may begin your opening statement whenever you like, and she is running for Laurier 101.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Aaron. So the Laurier Transition Fee, which is paid by incoming first-year students only, supports the Laurier 101 program and other initiatives that are designed to guide students through their transition to university and provide support through their first year at Laurier. The program consists of both academic and social programming that begins in the summer, transitions to orientation week, and continues throughout the fall and winter terms. Students will connect with peer mentors, staff, and faculty through online and on-campus events and resources to get the inside scoop on everything at Laurier, including course registration, accessing resources, and navigating systems and processes. The transition fee helps to build a foundation for all first-year students to have a successful introduction to Laurier by providing opportunities to get a head start on learning about life at Laurier, improving academic skills, and developing connections to the campus community.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brooke. All right, now we are going to give the candidates an opportunity to go over the referendum minutes, which is basically just an opportunity for candidates to outline and talk about what referendum question they are going to be addressing as chair, and then allow them to speak a little bit more to their platform, talk about the referendum question, which side they find themselves on personally, and why. So we do have a fairly large amount of time for that section. So Owen, you can begin, and I'll give you 2 minutes for this section. It's quite detailed. You can begin whenever you want. You can build off a bit of your opening statement as well.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to build off my opening statement, and then I'm going to kind of address the three key pillars that we want to talk about when addressing this referendum campaign. So over the past few months, we have heard from students that the current Students' Union Health Plan is definitely failing to support students. Students have continued to express their disappointment as the plan coverage has recently been cut, and students are continuing to pay out of pocket for other important prescriptions, most notably including oral contraceptives. With that being said, and in regard to the fee increase, we definitely understand that COVID-19 has brought on significant financial challenges, and we definitely do not take this fee increase lightly. With that said, it's clear that something has to change in order to bring improvements to the plan. Ultimately, Laurier students really do deserve to have healthcare and coverage for their oral contraceptives, and they deserve a plan that's comprehensive in nature. So that's why we're proposing the $75 increase, which will be adjusted by inflation every single year, to the health plan to provide students with extended drug benefits, including oral contraceptives, and then in hopes of eventually increasing mental health supports, potentially vision coverage, physical therapy, travel insurance, and accident expenses. We can definitely get into this if people have questions, but I do quickly want to address the $75 fee. So obviously I'm mindful that when students see a $75 fee increase, they're a little bit skeptical. So I kind of want to break that down a little bit. And then if people have specific questions, I'm definitely happy to get into the details of that. So in terms of the $75 increase, I think of it as three key components. So the first component is ensuring that our plan remains financially stable. We've been able to offer the plan at a pretty consistent and affordable rate for the past decade or so, which has been absolutely awesome for our students. But that means in order to continue to offer the benefits that we want to offer, we do need to increase the plan just because of the increasing healthcare costs. So for example, this year is a notable example where healthcare costs have been increasing by approximately 10%, but we're only able to increase our plan by 2%, which is the cost of inflation. And then we have a big gap, which leads into the next pillar, which means that we have to potentially reduce benefits, which is what happened this year. And we don't want to reduce benefits any further. So if we're able to get this fee increase and we're able to stabilize the plan, then we can definitely do our best to stop any decreases and then hopefully work towards stabilizing the plan and working towards increases. And then the final point is going to be, or the final portion is going to be about oral contraceptives. So the Core did an article about the lack of oral contraceptive coverage. That was never actually covered by the Students Union. That was a benefit provided by the Wellness Center, which they discontinued in January of 2020. And students were really concerned that they were going to have to start paying out of pocket. And the Students Union is definitely mindful of that. We've been trying to add oral contraceptives for a while, and we think it's important that we do that so students don't have to pay out of pocket for their needs, which is why about another third of that cost is going to go towards covering oral contraceptives. We obviously have to start somewhere, but the goal is to get our foot in the door and then to work to slowly increase the oral contraceptive coverage.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Owen. Same opportunity to you, Brooke. You now have your chance to go over the referendum question you're going to be addressing, build off your opening statement a little bit more, and then speak to which side of the referendum question you are on and why.
Yeah, so this referendum question asks if students support the implementation of a Laurier Transition Fee of $125. And so it's worth it to note that the past 3 years, we've been running a pilot program to see if this fee would be successful at Laurier. And so before that, students were still paying into the Laurier Orientation Week, but in a different way. So that was a ticket. And then the past 3 years, it's been on pilot program, and it's been called Laurier 101. And students have been paying $101 into the fee in their first year. And that supports Orientation Week and programs throughout the whole year. So with an assessment of the pilot program that has been running for 3 years, we found that it was extremely successful. And it's worth it to note that the pilot program has shown that not only does the fee support students in their first week at university, but it sets them up socially and academically to succeed throughout their whole first year at Laurier, and in turn gives them the tools that they need to succeed through the whole entire time at Laurier, which is what we are aiming to do for all students. And that's why the Students Union is so important, because we do provide those opportunities to students. And so with an assessment, we've seen that it has been successful. We've seen that we can offer equitable programming to all students, both on the Waterloo and Brantford campus. And with the fee, it'll allow students to all pay the same so that it's equitable in terms of that. And also with it being a part of their tuition, students who are accessing OSAP and any other financial supports will be able to pay into that with those financial supports instead of out of pocket as previous to the pilot program. So as I mentioned, a successful transition covers both social and academic programming, which is what the Laurier Transition Fee will do. A lot of students understand the transition fee to be just orientation week, but with more education, with more marketing, we'll be able to show students that it encompasses so much more than just orientation week. It encompasses things throughout the summer that are done through the Teaching and Learning Office at Laurier in conjunction with the Students' Union. Things like course registration webinars, residence life webinars, professor and upper year panels, general and course specific info sessions about Laurier. We also have cohort specific information such as things for international students, things for mature and transfer students, Indigenous students, things like that. Each type of student is provided for throughout this transition fee. It also encompasses orientation week, which is carnivals, escape rooms, concerts, game nights, and then we have academic sessions, fitness classes, pretty much anything for anyone who could ever want it. We also have speakers, such as speakers who touch on things like resiliency, sexual health and consent, anti-oppression workshops. We also fundraise through orientation week and the transition fee for things like cystic fibrosis, which is really important to the Laurier community as well. And for me, I've found that not only does this transition fee support academic and social things for all first years, it actually introduces them to the culture at Laurier, which is something that's really important, something that sometimes I think we forget about in terms of when we're looking at things like dollars and cents. And I think that this fee encompasses so much more than just a dollar amount. I think it encompasses like what it means to be a Golden Hawk, and it introduces first year students to the culture on our campus, which is I think something that Laurier students really hold near and dear to their hearts. And so that's why I think this fee is so important. And that's why we're encouraging students to vote yes for the Laurier transition fee to continue.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brooke. Thank you very much, Owen. Now, I'm sure most of the people attending have probably heard of the Board of Directors, Board of Governors, and the Senate. They may be less familiar with what the referenda party chair does. So, Owen, if you could begin, could you tell us a little bit about the role and what its purpose is, what it serves for the Laurier community?
Yeah, so Brooke and I both have very interesting positions, and we definitely have the benefit of being able to kind of echo certain issues that have come to light, either through students or through the Students' Union or through a combination of the both, or through of both of them. So basically, what Brooke and I are going to be doing throughout this campaign is just echoing what our message is going to be, and we're obviously advocating in support of the question. So I'll speak for my team, and then maybe Brooke can speak to her team. But my counterpart on the Brantford campus, who is also a Brooke Snyder, has been absolutely awesome in supporting this campaign, and she's done a lot of the groundwork to make sure we have a comprehensive marketing campaign. So a lot of the time, students go to the ballot and they kind of say, like, "Hey, I see this question, but what does it really mean?" So last year, we actually proposed a similar question in regards to the health plan, but students kind of saw it and they were thinking, "Hey, what the heck? I don't understand what this means." So our goal is to really educate students to make sure that they know what they're voting for. We don't want them to blindly vote yes or blindly vote no. We want to make sure that they're making an informed decision. At the end of the day, if they don't support the campaign, we're completely fine with that. We want them to exercise their right to do so, but we just want to make sure that they have all the information. So what our team has done is we've developed a pretty comprehensive marketing campaign to give students all the necessary information. And that kind of speaks to the 3-pillar little pitch that I gave you earlier, where students want to understand what that breakdown is going to mean, because we can't have pages of information on the actual ballot to explain to students what's going on. We want to do our best to proactively give them the information, just so when you see that $75 proposed increase, you understand what actually goes into that. So that's going to be the hope for the addition of the oral contraceptives, the stabilization of the plan, and then definitely ensuring to make sure that we don't have to make any additional cuts. And then instead of making cuts, we can work towards increasing the comprehensive coverage that we know our students like. So yeah, like in a nutshell, it's definitely just to echo what the question is about and to make students as informed as possible when they go to the polls to vote.
Perfect. Thank you, Owen. Now, Brooke, would you mind speaking a little bit to what your team has been focusing on?
Yeah, so to echo Owen, my job is basically to market and to educate students about what this referendum fee covers. And as well as Owen, I have a Brantford counterpart. Jeffrey Lamb has been helping me to market it to students. And I think it's really important in terms of our question to have both Brantford and Waterloo campus students understand that the fee encompasses programs on both campuses and allows them to have the same and equal programming. And so I think that like all-encompassing marketing techniques that allow both campuses to understand what the fee is will be really important. And again, to echo Owen, when students go to the ballot, I want them to understand what they're paying into, because again, you hear Laurier Transition Fee, and as I talked about earlier, a lot of students think that that only encompasses orientation week. But in reality, it's so much more than that. And we want students to understand how important it is to set first-year students up for success at Laurier. And to understand how important the orientation and transition fee really is. And so again, as Owen said, my job is just to make sure that students are educated about the question when they go to the ballot and to hopefully vote yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, both of you. Helps us all understand it a little bit more. Now we do have someone who's just joined us, Ahad. Thank you for joining. He is also a referendum party chair. He will be speaking a bit to the student life levy fee question. So Ahad, I will allow you to take as much time as you need to explain it a little bit more. You can talk about your position as well, what your team has been working on, maybe help the rest of the attendees today understand what you will be focusing on with your team.
Okay, thank you. So to explain the student life levy, there is a student life levy on the Brantford and Waterloo campus, but it's funded by the same application form. The student life levy funds almost every big campus project. So for example, in Brantford, the student life levy has funded the foot patrol van replacement, podcast accelerator scholarships. It's funded the commuter lounge, the multi-purpose room. In the Waterloo campus, it's funded the I believe the alumni field there, the athletics field. And it's funded a lot of very large projects that are basically enhanced and built to improve the improve campus life and improve the student experience. And whether or not you realize it, you've taken part in some portion of something that was funded by the student life levy. So the student life levy is essentially a small fee that students are paying for through their tuition that is assessed annually it's assessed annually by the inflation according to the consumer price index, and students pay it, and you pay the fee through your tuition, and it basically helps to cover projects that are helping to enhance the helping to enhance the development of the campus. And also on top of that, any student can apply for the student life levy on either Brantford or the Waterloo campus. Any student can apply for it. And when you apply for the student life levy, you just include some basic information there about what your project entails and what it will do. And if the project is approved, you'll receive funding from the Students' Union to take on that project. And basically, your project, the project will be taken on. Most recently, the student life levy in Brantford, at least I know, it was able to fund the games lounge in One Market. And this is something that was recently approved for fall 2020. So the student life levy will continue to make improvements on the campus and will continue to help benefit and build the campus and build the overall in-person experience of it, and make sure that as Laurier students, we have the best facilities possible. And it'll also help fund student projects that students are interested in. So if I were to say one thing, I would make sure to say yes to voting for the referenda, yes to the voting for the student life levy for the referendum.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ahad. Appreciate it. Now, I want to leave a fairly significant amount of time for audience questions if they have any. We do have a fairly lenient amount of time though, so we shouldn't be too worried about that. I do have a question first for Brooke. Obviously, you know, this year has been online. That's impacted some student services and obviously Laurier 101. has been impacted by that as well. If orientation week is online again, and I'm sure by extent a larger portion of the year is online as well, would that impact the fee that students would have to pay for Laurier 101, or would it remain the same?
Yeah, so I think it's worth it to note that with the pilot program that we've been looking at for the past 3 years, it has been an in-person program. And so that's why many students will wonder about what the fee really entails going forward. But eventually, and we can all cross our fingers that it will be sooner rather than later, we will be back in person. And it's worth it to note that this fee is not just for next year. It's going to referendum for countless years coming. And so by the time we are back in person, this fee will be paying in towards that. So it's really important to sort of have like a long-term outlook on why we're assessing this fee, not just for next year. Also, something that's important to me about the fee is that it supports social and academic programming for students to set them up for life at Laurier. And I think that students must remember when they're looking at this fee that those things still happen when we're online. And it's still important to welcome first year students with open arms to campus. And the transition fee allows us to do that even when they're online. And this year especially, the Laurier 101 program specifically through the Learning and Transition Office allowed students to be able to go to webinars and things like that online when they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. And they were able to go to those things online throughout the summer, and that will go forward. And we've seen that those programs throughout the summer were actually extremely helpful to students when we were online. So there are pros and cons to being online, and that was one of the pros. Also, yeah, again, I think it's just important to go back to the fact that it sets them up socially and academically throughout their time. And yes, I understand that fees might look different for some programs when it's online, but this is a long-term referendum question, and that's what's important here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brooke. I appreciate it. We have another audience question this time for Owen. So your proposal proposes an increase to, better suit the health plan that it looks like students are requesting. So the question for you is, have you done research to look at any other universities that have a similar level of coverage in their plan as to what your team is proposing?
Yeah, so that's actually a fantastic question, Aaron. So what's actually interesting about this, and one reason why we're so adamant on getting this added to our plan, is because we are actually one of the only institutions in Ontario that doesn't offer this coverage, which kind of speaks to the fact that this is something that students definitely want. And this is where Laurier is kind of falling behind other institutions. And we want our students to have that same kind of comprehensive coverage that students at University of Waterloo or the University of Western Ontario might be getting. We don't want our students to have any less coverage than other students might. And we definitely want to ensure that they have that same level of comprehensive coverage. So when we were doing our research, we were a little bit shocked to find out that Laurier was one of the only institutions that didn't. But then to the credit of our health and dental plan team who works to administer this plan, they've really been working for the past number of years to be adding oral contraceptives to the plan. One of the reasons why this hasn't been a top priority issue was because it had been covered by the Wellness Center. But then again, I give a lot of credit to our team because we only recently knew not too long ago that the Wellness Center was no longer going to be covering that for our students. And the Wellness Center had communicated to us that students were definitely interested in having oral contraceptives added to the plan. When it came out on Spotted at Laurier, that people were kind of surprised that we didn't offer it. We wanted to ensure that we clarified that. So overall, there is definitely the desire to have it, and the need really stems from the fact that it used to be covered, it's no longer covered, and then we're one of the only institutions in Ontario that doesn't cover it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Owen. I appreciate it. All right. Now, Ahad, we have a question for you as well. Now, this is relating to the proposal for the Student Life Levy Fund. What exactly is it that you would like to change in the Student Life Levy? Does this include more funding set aside in tuition?
In terms of the student life levy, I know that it is going to be slightly increased this year based off from at least Brantford from $4.18 to $4.37 because of the rising cost of inflation. But I like that the student life levy covers a variety of projects and it's available openly to all students, and it is able to fund several different projects for the campus. I like that. So I don't think I would change that portion. I think I would definitely keep that the same. If anything, I would promote it more so it is more openly available and more openly understood by students. So there's more awareness of what the actual program is and how students can access it for interested students. And so they know that they have this option available if they are interested in taking on a project that will help better enhance the life of students on campus or better enhance the quality of life on campus. Um, what was the second part of the question there?
Would this include more funding set aside in tuition?
Will it include more funding set aside in tuition? Do you mean like, is there going to be like a tuition fee increase or something, or?
I think that would be my assumption. This is an audience question. So if the audience
Okay,
member
yeah.
asks, would like to expand further?
Yeah, I don't believe that the student tuition, like I don't believe the tuition fees are going to increase as a result of the student life levy. The student life levy will be assessed annually according to the cost of inflation, and that'll be the only increase there. But otherwise, it won't significantly like increase the cost of tuition beyond the fact that it'll be adjusted annually either up or down based on the rise, based on inflation. That'll be the only adjustment to it. But otherwise, like that adjustment is very minimal. Like for example, in Brantford, it was $4.18 this year, and next year it'll be $4.37. A very minimal increase. A very minimal increase compared to what it previously would have been. And that $4.37 is also per half credit that it will be assessed at next year, starting May 1st, 2021. But like that student life levy is not going to significantly increase the cost of tuition. If anything, it will bring further value to the cost of your tuition, because you know that you're paying for the tuition and you're paying for student fees, but you're also expecting a great campus environment and a great Laurier experience on top of those. So if anything, the student life levy will be funding the projects that will further enhance the student life, that'll further enhance student life and a student's experience on campus. And it'll make sure that the campus experience and the campus life for that student is the very best it can possibly be.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, unless there are any other audience questions, I'll give you guys a minute if you want to ask anything remaining. We are fairly good on time. Owen, you look like you'd like to say something.
Yeah, I just because it didn't come up, some like a question that we've been getting and that we've been hearing from a few people from our Instagram that I think it's important to address throughout this open forum is kind of the why should I support this question if I'm not an individual who menstruates, or if I'm someone who doesn't buy into the health and dental plan, like why should I still vote yes? So that's something I definitely want to address, or why should I vote at all? So that's something I want to address. So obviously it's important to support those individuals who menstruate. We want to see them have the comprehensive coverage. We don't think that it's fair, just, or right that students have to pay so much out of pocket. I'm looking at the Wellness Center when they used to support this initiative, or the birth control or the oral contraceptives. It was really great because students only ended up having to pay the $5 out of pocket, which is relatively more reasonable than what they would have to pay if the university and the Wellness Center didn't cover it. So we really want individuals to vote yes, because it's important to support those individuals who might not have that comprehensive coverage. Unfortunately, when the Ford government came in, they virtually scrapped that whole program that the Wynne government had implemented to support individuals who do menstruate and who did need those oral contraceptives. So we want to continue to ensure that our students have the same access that they did prior to that, and then prior to the Wellness Center not being able to offer that benefit anymore. So just because it doesn't directly benefit you, I definitely implore you to think about the individuals who it does benefit and to let that guide your voting. I definitely encourage people to still vote. Again, if you don't support the plan, you don't have to vote yes to it. Obviously, my position is that you do vote yes, because I think it's extremely important that we are supporting those individuals. But at the very least, we definitely encourage you to come out and make sure that your voice is heard on this specific matter.
Well said. Thank you, Owen. That does bring up a good opportunity. Referenda party chairs, are there any questions that your teams have been getting asked a lot or frequently that you've been seeing that you do want to take the opportunity to address as Owen has just done? Brooke or Ahad?
I think that the main other question that we've been getting is the one that you asked me about online programming. And again, as I already touched on, I think it's important to look at this as a long-term investment for Laurier students versus a one-time fee for just next year. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Ahad?
Hold on. You can hear me here?
Yep.
Yep. Let me see here. I don't believe we haven't received any thus far. Like, I can't speak for purely for the Waterloo referendum, but for like the Brantford referendum, we haven't received any specific questions. But I just wanted to reiterate that the student life levy will continue to enhance projects on the campus going forward towards the future as it is right now, and it is an essential. It is helping to enhance the life of students on campus, and it is helping to ensure that all students have an opportunity if they have a project they'd be interested in. Hence the referendum question. It'll be helping to ensure that they are getting the best opportunities and the best experience on campus possible.
For sure. Thank you very much. All right, candidates, we're going to be moving into closing statements now. I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes, which should be more than enough time just because we are doing well. So maybe in your closing statements, if you also want to talk a little bit about where students can go to find out more information about whatever referenda question your team is supporting, and the work that you guys are doing prior to the voting period, that would be great as well. We can start with Owen. So 2 minutes for any closing statements, anything else that you may want to talk about related to your team.
Perfect. There are just two brief kind of questions that have also come up that I quickly want to address, and I'll briefly conclude with a closing statement. So the first thing is going to be that we understand that during a COVID-19 pandemic, financials are definitely tough, and a fee increase is definitely a big ask, and we're definitely mindful of students' concerns in that regard. I would suggest that in a pandemic, it's really important and it's crucial that we ensure that students have comprehensive health coverage, which is why this fee is being proposed. We don't want people in the middle of a pandemic to lose specific benefits. So that's one driving factor behind the proposed increase. A second thing that I want to note is a lot of students think that they're automatically going to have to pay this fee if they vote yes. That's not necessarily the case. The way that our health and dental plan works is that if you have coverage elsewhere, you're able to opt out of the plan. So if you do end up voting yes to increase the fee, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have to pay into it. So then I can just kind of hop into closing statements. But before I do that, I want to direct people to our social media channel. So all of our stuff is going to be some version of SU Health Plan Referendum. So if you search that anywhere on Instagram, you should be able to follow us. We also have a link tree, which will take you to our website. We do try to keep our Instagram posts relatively light just to make sure people aren't getting overwhelmed with information. But we definitely think it's important that students have access to comprehensive information on this issue. So if you go to the link in our bio, it will direct you to a link tree, which then can direct you to a website, which will give you much more in-depth information regarding our question. So I guess in conclusion, if students really want to see improvements made to their health plan and they would like to see additional coverage of the oral contraceptives, I think it's really important that students do vote yes in this question. Even if you're a student who typically opts out of the plan, I would definitely encourage you to vote yes to ensure that your peers have adequate coverage. As someone who doesn't necessarily opt into the plan, I think I'm very lucky in that regard, and I'm thankful for that, but I still would be voting yes because I want to ensure that my fellow students have access to comprehensive coverage. And then Laurier definitely prides itself on that kind of sense of community. So I definitely implore you to do your part as a Laurier student and ensure that our health plan passes. If you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to myself. You can reach me at suavpuaw@wlu.ca. As a quicker means to do that, you're more than welcome just to send us a DM. We tend to answer those pretty quickly. But if you have any questions regarding this question, and you want to have a more in-depth conversation, my team and I are more than happy to have that with you.
Owen, thank you very much. Brooke, similar to you, as much time as you need for closing statements. Anything else you wanted to let the Laurier student body know?
Thank you. Yeah. Just before closing statements, a point that I already touched on, but I just wanted to address again. As Owen stated, some students are curious about tuition increases during COVID-19, and we don't want to implore other students to have to pay those fees. But I think it's important to note that for those students who are accessing OSAP or any other financial supports, it's actually more helpful to have this referendum fee voted yes, because when it's a part of the tuition, students will be able to use OSAP and those other financial supports to be able to pay into the fee instead of paying for an orientation week ticket or transition ticket out of pocket. The second point that I have here is that it's a first year student fee only, which I think is important to note when voting for it. And some students have wondered why they should be voting for something that doesn't really affect them if they are upper year students. But I think it's important to note that Laurier prides itself on its sense of community and our sense of a small campus, a family environment where we can support each other. And I think that, at least for me personally, I feel like it's my duty to be able to set up first year students going forward, to be able to set them up for success. And I think a lot of other students pride themselves on feeling that community at Laurier as well. And so to be able to continue that, we should allow students to be able to vote yes to having first year students pay into this transition fee. And then just for concluding, I just want to drive home the idea that the referendum question sets students up for success through all of their years at Laurier. Again, a lot of students think that it's just for orientation week, but this is not true. It does not only affect them in their first year or just an orientation week. It sets them up for success throughout their whole time at Laurier, which is why it's so important for all undergraduate students to vote on this question. The social and academic opportunities that the Laurier Transition Fee supports and provides throughout the summer, fall, and winter terms are irreplaceable within the Laurier community and within Golden Hawk culture. I'm excited for students to be able to vote yes to this referendum question in order to provide these opportunities to all Laurier students for years to come. And if anybody has any other questions, much like Owen, I can be reached at suavppw@wlu.ca. And our social medias are Vote Yes 101. Thank you.
Wonderful. Brooke, thank you very much. Ahad, same opportunity for you. Any closing remarks, closing statements you'd like to make, and how the people can reach you if they want to find out more?
All right, so if I were to say the SLL, the Student Life Levy contract, which is why it's a referendum question this year, is because the contract is expiring this year, and the committee has done a lot of big things for the campus. For Brantford, for example, it brought us the commuter lounge, it's brought us the multi-purpose room. For Waterloo, it helped enhance the athletics alumni field there. It's definitely made a lot of big impacts for the campus experience for students, and it is continuing to enhance the campus experience for several students. And we are trying, and by voting yes for the Student Life Levy for Brantford and for Waterloo, we are ensuring that the committee is going to continue to exist, and we're going to ensure that student projects and projects that are going to enhance the quality of life for students on campus will continue to be enhanced, and it'll continue to occur, and it'll continue to keep going. We are going to ensure that all of that is happening if the Student Life Levy is renewed. And that's why I believe you should vote yes for the Student Life Levy. But also, if you wanted to reach out and if anybody had any questions, the Brantford Student Life Levy page is up and active on Instagram and Facebook. And you can follow it at LLU, and I'm going to put this in the chat also, LLU_Brantford SLL. We have all our information on the Brantford Student Life Levy, and Waterloo students can obviously check this out also. And you can see because the information is the same across both campuses typically. So you can see the information there. And we also have our page on Facebook with Vote Yes for the Brantford Student Life Levy. Wilfrid Laurier University Brantford Student Life Levy -yes. So if you follow that page, you'll be able to see it there also. We have information on our Facebook page and our Instagram page there, and you can learn more about the Student Life Levy. We include why you should vote for it, what is covered, what projects are eligible, how to apply for it. We make all that information very available. And also, if anybody else had any questions for me, I can be reached out at. You can literally DM both of those accounts, message those accounts, and I will probably get back to you in about 5 to 10 minutes, most of the day. And like otherwise, you can also email me at naim0350@mylaurier.ca. I'm also available to answer questions on the Brantford Student Life Levy. In the Student Life Levy referendum question, I'm able to answer questions there. And yeah, I believe that if you want to continue to enhance the impact of if you want to enhance the campus experience and you want to ensure that future Laurier students are getting the amazing Laurier experience that you have gotten in your life so far, and continue to ensure that they are getting the best experience possible and that they are being set up for future and they're getting set up for success and being put into the best position possible to succeed, then I would say vote yes for the Student Life Levy for Brantford and Waterloo.
Thank you very much, Owen, Brooke, Ahad. Thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your referenda party chairs for the year. They and their teams are going to be working on educating the Laurier student body on important questions that you all will be voting for that will impact students in the years to come. So please make sure you check out their pages, check out their teams, talk to them, get a sense of what it is you will actually be voting on. Thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Now with the schedule, we have a slight change. So we are going to be taking a bit of an extended break, and we will be coming back after a bit of a long lunch period, returning at 1 o'clock. So I will see you all back here at 1 o'clock for the next portion of open forum, which will be the first group of the board of directors. So I will see you all soon. Thank you again, guys, for coming. Take care.